There he is. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. I think we've spoke before
We have.
a long while back in Birmingham.
Correct. Well done. I'm surprised you remember that.
Yeah, it's hard to forget a name, Steve Gerrard. How you doing?
The only advantage of having that name is that people don't forget it.
Yeah.
So there you go. But yeah, now I'm in Montreal.
Nice. Good to hear. How long you been there now?
I've been here since 2014, which I think is about the same time that I met you. It was around.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Around the time we met in a bar in Birmingham. All five of you, actually.
Yeah. No, I remember that. Yeah.
So at that time when we met, there was like this weird buzz about you. Like you were still a very new band, but things were starting to happen and you were getting a lot of attention in places like Asia, I think. Like really, really picking up. And I think you were kind of bigger out there than you almost were in Birmingham at that time. And that's kind of how you came on my radar, was that I was like, who is this band from Birmingham that, again, all this attention on the other side of the world?
Yeah.
And that's how things started with me meeting you. And here we are 8 years later or whatever it is. And things just seem to be going from strength to strength for you.
Yeah, I remember that interview very vividly in terms of the location and yourself and things like that. And yeah, you're right. As a band, we've had kind of this really weird journey where we couldn't kind of lock in a fan base within kind of our home country, and as you say, kind of across Asia and then the United States and stuff. We just started to kind of gather momentum, and that was pretty much the start of Oceans, really, of touring and playing shows and releasing records and things.
And it's been, obviously for you, it's been a weird journey as well since then, coming and going. And now we have this new album, which is called Disparity, which I have to say, I can't think of a better title for an album in 2022. It just like that one word just sums everything up.
Thank you. Yeah. I think it was definitely something we spoke as a band collectively, and just thought, how can we kind of wrap everything up and kind of divulging on like the meaning of disparity. Like the dictionary term is of a great difference. I think there's almost a widespread difference now between the working, middle and upper classes in terms of the way the state of the world is in and things like that. There's a lot of divergence and fringing of different beliefs and topics and things going on in the world now about state of the world in terms of carbon footprint and waste and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it was a really poignant title to give the album, and we kind of tried to explore that with kind of this kind of post-apocalyptic twist, half of the album being this kind of really heavy strain of kind of progressive metalcore, almost borderline, some people would say deathcore, and then these kind of hallucinogenic, experimental kind of lo-fi soundscapes. So that's also musicality-wise kind of showing two great differences, and we just tried to encapsulate that all into kind of the album. And we also chose to place jarringly different songs in album order as well. So you go from this one kind of extreme of the lo-fi soundscapes to this incredibly noxious, heavy deathcore track. And I've noticed a few people have commented on that, saying it was a bit of an odd choice, but that was 100% meant to be like that. And we'll discuss that thoroughly at length as a band.
When was the catalyst moment for this album in particular? What started it off, and kind of, did you have a discussion about what you wanted it to be, or did it all kind of come together quite fluidly?
I think kind of as a band, obviously most fans will kind of know, I checked out the band for a while. There's a lot of reasons behind that, mainly ultimately for me, coming out of Warped Tour 2016, that was basically my childhood goal, was to be in a band and do that. I'd grown up in the scene around Birmingham, St Tierney Square and stuff, which was known as Pigeon Park at the time. There's a really underground culture there. And I grew up basically in that crowd. And for me, that was just like, forget the downloads, forget the Rock and Ring and things like that. I just wanted to do Warped Tour. After that, I pretty much was like, oh, what do I do with myself now? I dropped out of uni to pursue music. And at the time, I just thought it was the right thing to do, was to go back to uni, finish my degree and start that. Jake, who joined the band, was always a part of the band from the very get-go of kind of touring the UK. He would be there either slinging merch or as a stagehand and things for us along the way. So he was a very much part of the band from its inception, even though people wouldn't have seen him at the forefront of things. I think that was the natural progression really for him to kind of step up and take that role from me. And then obviously Hikari, our second album, came out, which was a fantastic album. Moving on from the kind of nautical elements of Lost Isles, we then touched on kind of this Japanese experimental side of things. I was also initially kind of in the writing and the background of all of that as well. And then once Hikari came out, the guys toured, did a lot of touring. Jake moved to Scotland, which is about 6-7 hours drive from where we currently live. And just turned out that he just wanted to carry on pursuing his tattoo career and his business, which was fair enough. He's a very, very good tattoo artist. And I was still in contact with the guys. They just hit me up and said, this is the kind of situation we're in at the moment. Do you want to come back on for another album? And we chatted it through, experimented, discussed where we wanted to take it. And I think around that time then the pandemic pretty much hit, and that really solidified kind of Disparity's themes and musical nuances.
So how did it feel for you kind of watching the band from the outside for a while?
It was weird. I always kind of see Oceans as like, a very sentimental value to me. I was from its inception with the other guys, Chris, Jibs, Adam and Mike. And I was one of their biggest supporters as much as I could be. I didn't get to see them as much as I'd like as friends and stuff, because they was touring a lot in the States and the rest of the world, Australia, Japan, you name it. They was pretty much there. But overall, I'm just kind of happy to have been able to come back and produce another album with them, really. We'd spoke about it previously, like prior to me kind of leaving and things, and it was something that we said, might be an opportunity in the future. I didn't think it would come so soon, but overall, I'm glad to have been able to kind of written a record that kind of encapsulates everything that's going on with the state of the world right now. And I think, especially with the pandemic and stuff, it was just kind of the prime time to get this themed album out and the world listening, really.
The sound on this album, it's a more expansive sound. So was that something that was important to you when you rejoined the band, that you wanted to kind of broaden your horizons a little bit musically?
For me, it was actually the first time being in like a proper studio and having kind of a specialized like vocal producer and things like that to lean on and chat ideas with. Chris, our drummer, is also a great producer as well. And I think there was definitely more of a formulaic view when writing this album as a whole. We kind of all banded together and really honed in on kind of what were the best bits from Lost Isles, what were the best bits from Hikari, and how can we kind of combine them and try and take it to the next level. I think as a whole, we're pretty pleased with the outcome. I think we managed to do that. And people kind of say Oceans ALS is quite a sporadic, progressive band. We kind of don't lean on a riff or a rhythm for too long. We just give you kind of a fleeting glimpse, and then we're on to the next little transition or what have you. And for us, it was kind of a conscious effort to keep that, but then also solidify down the kind of rhythms that people can actually just bob their head to and enjoy.
Yeah, because that was going to be one of my questions, actually, because you are a very technical band.
Yeah.
And sometimes bands can be so technical that the song gets lost.
Yeah.
But I feel like you tread that fine line where you've got the song is the most important thing, but the technicality shines through. Is that something you're always conscious of? Is that a struggle to make sure that you kind of tread that line?
Yeah, for sure. I would say kind of in the writing process, definitely the musicality takes kind of center stage really than anything else, even kind of lyric and lyrical melody and things like that. And that's just because as a band, that's kind of our forte really, and that's what we try to push on our records. From my perspective as kind of a vocalist, I do sometimes find it quite hard to write lyrics and get kind of an actual idea and thematic behind the lyrics that kind of flow from some sections that are incredibly heavy to then these kind of sporadic, melodic, major notes. And I think as a songwriter, it's quite hard to find a theme that can flow throughout an entire song, especially when it chops and changes like that. Yeah. So we definitely took and spent additional time and paid more attention on that with this album. I think as kind of Oceans continues to progress and into the future albums and EPs that we release, that's definitely something that we're going to be looking into more, and we'll continue to kind of grow and explore in regards to kind of the combination of music and melody and lyrics and things like that.
To that point, how finished are the songs before you start adding your vocals or thinking about the lyrics?
I mean, just to give a kind of a ballpark percentage, I'd probably say about 75%. We kind of have a core. Well, Oceans doesn't have a real traditional structure of kind of, like verse, chorus type thing. We get a rough kind of structural idea as best as we can, and then we'll go in and kind of lay in lyrical ideas, and then from there we'll kind of finalize and flesh out the remainder of the song and add any kind of little details and things in. So yeah, as I said, can sometimes be a little bit awkward in that perspective from my personal approach, but Oceans is kind of a different beast to most bands in terms of the way we go about writing and doing things anyway. So
yeah. So was there one song on this album that you really struggled with?
I didn't really struggle with anything in terms of the writing approach or finding content to fit. I'm continuously writing as a kind of a lyricist and artist. I also play bass guitar, so I'm always writing guitar parts and things as well on bass, rhythms and stuff for kind of Chris to then accent and accentuate with his incredible drumming. And so I had a lot in the bank, and it was quite an easy process. Like, for example, Metamorph was probably the first song we wrote on the album, which was the lead single of the album. There was some delay due to the pandemic of kind of dropping that and then the album coming out, but we pretty much kind of wrote that from front to back within kind of like 24, 48 hours. It was a really quick process for an Ocean song. Usually we're very meticulous with things, and songs can, take up most of sometimes, months to kind of finish. But yeah, Metamorph was definitely a very fast creative process.
Which one took the longest? Which one, did you have the rest of it? Was there any?
I'd probably say probably the last song on the record, Hallucinogen. Mainly from a perspective of like, where would we take the song? Would we kind of go for these more like melodic, clean parts? We kind of got like a Linkin Park kind of vibe going on in kind of what we call the verses of that song, and it was debatable on like, do we go for like some sang parts or these kind of emotional shouts, or more of kind of like a fast staccato kind of rap vibe that kind of Linkin Park do on a number of their tracks. And I think that one probably, from kind of a debatable point as a band, probably took the longest.
And when you were writing that song, did you know it was going to be the last song on the album?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we was pretty much set on that being the last song on the album pretty much from the get-go. As soon as we kind of captured, about 50% of the music, and we had kind of an initial vocal hook and idea running through it. We was like, yeah, this is gonna be the last song on the album.
All right, thanks, man. It's been nice chatting to you again. Any plans to come over to North America yet?
Yes, yeah. Thanks again, Steve. Yeah, it has been a pleasure talking to you again. It's lovely to be on video with you and stuff. And yeah, we do have plans to come to North America. I've noticed a lot of kind of British bands have unfortunately kind of either cancelled or postponed some of their tours kind of the end of this year. For us as a band, we just want to make sure that we're 100% have everything set in stone in terms of visas, travel, all of that. Because coming out the back of the pandemic, we don't want to, have another kind of financial hit where we have to like postpone or move anything like that. So once we're 100%, sure and certain that things can go ahead, we'll be announcing US tours. We've got stuff in the works for kind of pretty much worldwide. It's just kind of putting those final pieces together and, fingers crossed that nothing kind of happens again with COVID and whatnot, and we can actually get out on tour and meet our fans.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm sure it'll happen. And I look forward to the time it does, because I haven't seen you in Montreal yet. So
yeah, definitely. Montreal, we usually pass through. In Canada, I think the issue is sometimes we like the Canada shows and stuff like that is we'll fly out over to the USA and then being kind of a different country and stuff, the border crossings can sometimes throw up issues again with like visas and things. So it tends to either be one or the other rather than both of them combined. But definitely Canada will be on the list.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to that. But yeah, congratulations on the new album. It's stunning, I've got to say, and the sound is huge on it. So I think
thank you very much.
Take you to the next level. It just seems like you just keep getting more and more out there into the world, and that's a good thing to see. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I think as a band we're going to be keeping up the momentum now. We've had a few lulls in our career with releases, but I think everything's kind of behind us and ready to set now. We're already looking forward to the next release and things like that. So hopefully onwards and upwards, and everyone will be seeing and hearing more of us.
Yeah, onwards and upwards indeed. All right, thanks, James.
Thanks, Steve.
We'll see you soon.
Have a great evening. Thank you.
Take care.